Hello, everybody. I am Anthony Johnson, and I'm the Immigration Liaison Officer for the City of Cincinnati.
Good morning, good afternoon,
Mhm.
everybody. I am Defilia Diaz, and I am an immigration attorney.
We're here to talk about U visa certifications, questions that kind of branch off from that to inform people what they are, what they provide for people, and what it offers law enforcement, and also to kind of delve into some of the questions that might come from that.
Thank you for being here. I want to acknowledge the Cincinnati Police Department to be so open to this forum because it's very much needed, trying to provide information to the immigrant community.
Absolutely. Appreciate my chief command staff and the police department to even have this position to understand the importance immigrants and refugees are to the city. We are a city of immigrants, and to be able to focus on things that are going to help those communities within our city are huge. And then thank you for being here because you bring the aspect on the other side of U visa certs to educate people how that process is and the length and time and your expertise.
I think that we'll make a great team.
We
So,
do, we do.
and we are so happy to also be here and provide the services. So, I guess that I wanted to go off track because you
Mhm.
mentioned your position,
Mhm.
which not all the agencies have the position.
No. Mhm.
So we are gonna discuss a little bit in the first part of the video the UVisa certification and UVisa, and the second part domestic violence. But I wanted to ask, just because you mention it,
Sure.
your title and your position, and how is it? What is that entitles? And which I learned from you that is much more
Oh
than
my gosh,
you
yes.
can anticipate. So tell us about what is your title.
So basically, I'm a liaison to all of our communities within the city of Cincinnati dealing with immigrant and refugee issues, or positive things too. They don't all have to be bad. Um, some of it is crime prevention and education. Some of it is just laws in general and understanding what our city and our state and our country's laws um, kind of dictate life and how you're supposed to carry yourselves through the community. But also questions because our police department is completely different than a lot of other police departments outside of our country where we're more community based. We're working for our city. We don't necessarily work for the federal government. So a lot of our laws and protections and things are more domestic related as opposed to government led.
So tell me if I'm right understanding your position. You are like kind of the link with the community and the police department.
Yes, absolutely. So, if there's questions, problems, issues, concerns, they have somebody to go to that they know in the community. I've been doing this for now 8 years, and so there's a lot of people that know, what resources I bring. If I can steer them in directions that might help them, if it's not police related, um, but basically just being able to know that they can trust somebody that's going to be in their best interest, give them answers that can help them and then move them forward through whatever they might be trying to deal with.
That is amazing. So they can come to you with a question and also with a complaint.
Absolutely, and usually that happens.
So which is, a complaint sometimes, behind the complaint there is a question, and I love curiosity questions, and sometimes challenging questions as well, because through those questions we learn.
Oh,
There's
absolutely,
an
absolutely.
inquiry of wanting to be knowledgeable about the situation in itself, right?
Yes.
So I appreciate that.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, you have that role, but also you're an officer.
Yes.
You also have that those duties as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fine line as far as being able to, advise people on what to do and
Hmm.
how to do it, but you stick with again the blueprint that our city has as far as the laws, what's the expectations of all of our city and community members. Again, some of it's just services. Like for example, we were talking about a minute ago about kids and it being summertime. Well, a lot of our immigrants and refugees don't know that our recreation centers are available to their kids. And I mean, they're really, really low, expense. It's like $10 for the whole
And
summer.
amazing facilities.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, you got pools, you got soccer, you got basketball courts. I can't even think what the new little tennis thing is. But
Uh,
but they made little smaller courts for them to play. I mean, and you can't even talk about the number of activities all across the city that our city provides for youth to be able to do and it makes it a fun summer for them, because other than that, you'd be bored sitting around, waiting for something to happen.
Or watching TV, which it is not bad, but at the same time,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You want to get out. You want to get out and play.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
city,
yeah, yeah.
our recreation commission really offers a lot for our kids to be able to do. I mean, even the water parks. If it it's getting too hot, if you don't want to swim, that's fine. You have like literally water parks so you can go get splashed and wet and have a good time, and it costs $0.
Parks also available.
Hmm.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for explaining that part. I think that it is very important for them to know what do you do and the role that you play here in the Cincinnati Police Department, which is not in all the agencies. Normally, they don't have that key part or key officer that is able to be the link. So thank you very much. So the first part, the first topic about talking about U visas. What specific do you wanted to mention this live?
So the U visa, and I'll say this for people that have lack knowledge about it, it's not a catch all be all or give people status and things like that immediately or magically or anything else like that. What it helps us do is allow victims to trust the fact that we're going to help them in their time of crisis when it is a qualifying crime. Certain crimes that are majority felonies that we need their assistance on, and we value their help in being able to solve, so then we don't create other victims of these crimes. So, for example, a couple of days ago, we had a robbery over in Price Hill where a young man was shot.
Mm.
So instead of him fearing that we're going to do something to him, now he'll understand and know that, hey, we are here to help him. We have this U visa cert to be able to protect his status while we're getting this bad guy off the street, so that could stop other victims from occurring, or creating other victims because of his assistance. And it's important. It's an important tool in law enforcement, because without it, we're not solving even half of these crimes,
Mm-hmm.
because now you may not have that trust in law enforcement. And again, from police departments from other countries are not like us. They're more corrupt. They're more government run. They don't deal with domestic stuff. So coming from other countries and Central and South America, and I can use definitely some in Africa and stuff like that, where you don't even talk or deal with the police at all. They don't assist you in anything other than what the government agencies tell them to do in their daily routine. So it's important for us to have this tool to build relationships with the community so they can value our trust, be able to have confidence in what we're doing to be able to assist them in their time of crisis. And again, to be able to investigate these crimes, solve them, get the bad guys off the street so then our communities are safe.
Perfect. Do you mind if I say it in Spanish?
No, no, go.
Okay, so voy a decirlo en español, lo que acaba de decir el oficial Johnson. La visa U es una herramienta que le permite a la policía poder tener contacto con las víctimas y poder estar resolviendo los crímenes. La visa U es un alivio migratorio donde está disponible para ciertos crímenes específicamente listados. La mayoría son felonías. Hay algunos que son crímenes menores, que en inglés se llaman misdemeanors, pero solamente son ciertos crímenes. Y lo que le estaba mencionando es que esta herramienta les ayuda. Por ejemplo, hubo un robo en una colonia aquí en Cincinnati que es Price Hill, en donde las víctimas, alguien fue lesionado con una herida de bala y les permitió accesar a las víctimas y que las víctimas no sientan miedo cuando los oficiales llegan al sitio y poderse comunicar libremente y tener confianza en los oficiales. I have to paraphrase it.
No,
was a lot.
that's important. The last statement of anything is more important, is that they understand that they're confident in us being able to help them and support them in their crisis. I mean, without that, we don't get that support from the community. We don't get the information we need to solve the crimes. And again, our job is to make the city safe.
Yes.
Without that information, without them coming forward if they're victims, we can't do that.
And I think that understanding the relationship between the community and the police officers, it takes time, right? And
Absolutely.
understanding that you guys are humans, that you guys actually,
Yes, I am human.
yeah, that you're one of us. You are a normal person, right?
Mhm.
And me dealing with officers for 11 plus years, it's still it is difficult sometimes, I was walking in Panera the other day. We went to Seattle, and there
Mhm.
were three officers. I turned the curtain, and I saw three officers eating their sandwich, and I
Uh-huh.
would stop, like, what's going on,
Yes.
Because the uniform imposes. The
Yes.
uniform is a statement of power, right?
Yeah.
So it makes
Absolutely.
you stop in your track, like, what's going on? Is it coming after me? Did I did
Mhm.
something wrong that I
Yes.
didn't know about?
Hmm.
But at the same time, I see in you a lot of friendship, a lot of collaboration. Through the years. You guys are great people.
Absolutely. I mean, uh, being the job of a police officer is difficult coming in,
Mm-hmm.
because first of all, we're not really called to come to like family reunions or picnics. What I'm saying? Most of the stuff we're
Mm,
called for is bad things, people in their time of crisis. So for us, we already understand our role to try to help and try to handle it and try to, get it in a direction that's at least going to be better than what it was. And sometimes, there's times that we can't do that. But yeah, when we're in this uniform, it brings a lot of, um, I'm trying to look for a word, maybe presence, as far as what we deal with and what we don't. And just like you said, they're in Panera eating, and it's already a heightened thing, and they're just eating sandwiches. That's kind of how, it's kind of how we sign up for this job. That's what it comes with. So, I mean, there are times in my career, and, I could just sit there and not do anything to anybody, but just be on a traffic post, and people will say ignorant things to me. And then at the same time, I can be at that same post, and somebody will thank me for my job and appreciate
mm-hmm.
my service. So it's a difficult job, but a lot of your officers sign up not for all this exciting things that the movies and TVs do, but to be able to just, if you could just make one positive thing happen for somebody in their life during your tour of duty, you feel like you've accomplished something in your job.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go in Spanish.
Yeah.
Estamos hablando acerca de lo que impone el estar en un uniforme y en realidad las dificultades y los retos que los oficiales de policía tienen en poder estar en contacto con la comunidad, específicamente las víctimas, por la resiliencia o los miedos que tienen las víctimas y la comunidad inmigrante, por también las idiosincrasias y la cultura que tenemos en Latinoamérica o en otros países, África, por ejemplo, en la relación que se tiene con las autoridades, con los oficiales, que generalmente nosotros no vamos a pedir ayuda a los oficiales, sino que tememos de los oficiales o la policía, que es diferente aquí en Estados Unidos y tienen un rol diferente. Y yo estaba hablando que fui a un panera y me encontré a tres oficiales y hasta yo me paré porque dije, bueno, ¿qué está pasando aquí? Y es normal que todos nos sintamos de una forma diferente cuando estamos con un oficial en uniforme. Sin embargo, ellos están aquí para ayudarnos, para protegernos, y eso es lo que buscan hacer cuando están acudiendo a una llamada de una víctima. Thank you. So since last video, since last live in the last month, we decided we can go back and forth, a little bit in English, a little bit in Spanish, so everybody's in the same page.
Absolutely.
So talking about certifications,
Yes.
how do you think that is the best way for the victims to get to the agencies and obtain the certification?
It's a good question. A lot of the times, the way our immigrants and refugees work is word of mouth. So if you can talk to somebody that maybe has dealt with these agencies and know that they've got good service and they were actually respected and handled well, I think that goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's literally, like, I mean, the reason why a lot of people can trust me is because the community members all know me, and they'll tell, if there's somebody that doesn't, they will literally say, "Hey, go to Officer Johnson; he will help you." So word of mouth is huge. I also think that they just have to be. Some of my frustrations with dealing with some agencies that are helping the victims are they're not doing the paperwork right, or they're not putting in the time to do the things right for them, but they're collecting the money from them, which is not okay. And so, when you have an attorney, they're the ones that need to contact the officers that to handle the U visa certification. They're the ones that need to gather the paperwork and stuff like that. It shouldn't be on the victim unless it's like something where you can't find it, it's not readily available. It shouldn't be on the victim to go get a lot of the stuff and put it together and present this to the officer, because that's what the attorney's there for. That's what the service is there for. So a number of my frustrations, and I'll just talk about one that I received today. I received a youth visa cert, and if you're familiar with the supplement B, so if you're familiar with the paperwork, it's not really extensive. It's just
Mm-hmm.
basically giving you the facts of what's happened, who the victim is, and if the victim sustained any injuries and if they cooperated with us, which is a lot of the qualifications, and then the list of the crimes that qualify for the U visa cert. And I received one that was completely not filled out except for a name and a date of birth and no other information. And the date of birth for the person that was submitted was completely wrong. And this is an attorney that's, you know, getting double figure thousands to do this and not do the work that's required. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not that difficult. I mean, again, it's work, so I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not that difficult to do this. And for our agency to be able to help these victims, it makes it harder on us because
Mm-hmm.
we can't get these things certified and then back to the agency so the victim can get the assistance that they're requiring.
So different. I will say in Spanish. I just want to follow up on
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
question. It is
Mhm.
the agencies or different police departments will do it differently.
Yes.
Some police
Hmm.
departments I will provide it a prepared certification, and they will like, okay, I will do it my own, which
Hmm.
is fine.
Hmm.
But you already provided the initial information.
Yes. Yeah. The whole point is to be able to, my job is to be able to provide my supervisors the argument for why this should be certified or why this shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
So the more information I have from the agency to be able to produce that to my supervisor so then it can be an official cert and signed off on and returned, the better. Because then I can get it done and get it done faster, especially if all the things check the boxes as far as qualifications. But if they're taking money and they're not providing that information, they're not filling out the paperwork, they're not doing these things, then definitely makes it harder.
Okay. En Spanish. Let me go in Spanish.
Go ahead.
Le hice la pregunta al oficial de qué es lo que tiene que hacer una víctima para poder obtener una certificación para la visa U. Y él contesta que es una pregunta intrigante o una buena pregunta. Y la primera cosa que le recomienda es a lo mejor a través de lo que escuchan en la comunidad. De saben, por ejemplo, en la comunidad de Cincinnati lo conocen a él, y a lo mejor algunas comunidades lo pueden referir a él para que directamente él pueda direccionarlos en la ayuda. Pero también existen las ayudas a través de los abogados y él prefiere que los abogados realmente hagamos nuestra tarea en estar haciendo esa investigación del reporte de policía para poder estar llenando el suplemento B. La certificación es el suplemento B que tiene que estar llenado y firmado por la policía. Lo que nosotros hacemos como abogados y debemos estar haciendo como abogados es realmente dar la información en ese suplemento B para que los oficiales, que es la tarea de ellos, poder nada más revisar y poderlo pasar a su superior para poder comprobar si son víctimas y si cooperaron o no. Entonces, él recomienda hacer eso. Él está hablando de un caso donde el abogado solamente dio el nombre y la fecha de nacimiento y después pues otra fecha de nacimiento y entonces eso obviamente es irritante para los oficiales de policía y descredita a la víctima. Entonces, no solamente descredita al abogado, pero descredita a la víctima. What I added is also it discredits the victim.
I got you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it just the they're a victim already, so they've already gone through a traumatic experience. They should not go through more bad things because they're here because they've already gone through something bad. I mean, it's seriously bad because again, most of the qualifying crimes are felonies. So we should not re-victimize the victim because of poor work when they're already here looking for that assistance. That again helps us to be able to solve crimes, make arrests, and keep our community safe. So it shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, and sometimes the homework that it is before submitting the certification, it is difficult. And it is not that easy to get the copy of the police report because of retention policies. Or because even though you find the police report, your guy or your client, it is not in there.
Right. But that's the work. I mean,
Yes, yes, yes,
again,
yes.
if you don't have that, I'm here for that. I'm here to help with that. So if we can work together, that's fine. But
Yeah.
like not doing your work and then sending something and asking for us to be able to do something, you just want to make sure that you get a quality attorney or a quality, um, uh, firm, if you will, or what have you, to be able to work with you. And again, word of mouth is is huge. I mean, if you know that you have people that have gone through this process, I would definitely ask them questions and understanding to get understanding to know what it is that entails, how the work should be done, and so you get good quality work. That way, it gets done in a proper time. I mean, I come up with another example where a young lady, and I know her, I've known her for years here, came up to the district to say, "Hey, my attorney sent me up here for you to fill out this paperwork," and it's like, no, it's not how it works, because we need all the information gathered and put together so then we
Mm-hmm.
can do it. And again, I explained that to her, and of course I helped her out, and of course I called the attorney to fix it and make it right so then the victim gets the help, because again, these are victims. This is not, oh, I'm gonna decide to fill out some paperwork today. These are actual victims of serious crimes that need our assistance. So it's not hard. If you can't fill it out or you don't understand it, call and ask, and I will do my very best to be able to assist you in getting it done for the victim.
Thank you.
Hmm.
I mentioned that because sometimes my clients think that just because of what we said, it is just easy to just get the police report and prepare the
Yeah,
certification.
no.
And
Hmm.
sometimes I hit roadblocks.
Yeah.
There is not there. I'm not going to push a certification when I cannot verify the evidence.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that. Lo que estaba tratando, let me go in Spanish.
Yes. Yes.
Lo que estábamos tratando de discutir es que muchas veces no es tan simple preparar la certificación. Y a pesar de que encuentres el reporte de policía, te puedes encontrar que tus clientes no están en ese reporte de policía. Y entonces él dice, el oficial Johnson dice, aquí estoy para ayudarte y para poder ver si los clientes o la víctima, en ese caso, está en otro documento en el incidente. Él estaba comentando que yo hago esa introducción de este comentario porque muchas veces los clientes piensan que preparar la certificación simplemente es el llenado del documento y es fácil, pero la preparación del cómo y la evidencia, la información que va en esa certificación, yo lo llamo como una obra de arte. So it's the art.
Hmm.
It's an art.
It is.
So here we have an interesting question.
Sure.
A person was robbed. We don't have the specifics of how it happened.
Hmm.
20 years ago. Can it still apply for the U visa? Can it still get the certification?
So we'll need some information on it, but so for example, like if there was an arrest that was made and things of that nature and they assisted them, if we don't have so for our police department, our retention is 5 years for reports. So if we can't go back and get the physical report, there might be stuff in the court cases or things like that where we can get the information on it, see that the victim assisted, and yes, it would still qualify as long as, because robbery is a qualifying crime, as long as there was assistance by the victim and we're able to move forward. And again, it doesn't mean it has to be a conviction. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people, will get hung up like, well, I don't know if you're going to be able to get the person, or I don't know if we can convict. It's not based on that. We
Mm-hmm.
just need the assistance so then we could. I'll back up a little bit. If we know there's a crime that's occurring in a certain area in the city, that information, even though we may not get the exact bad guy, may lead to getting to the person doing it because we know where the crime occurred. Now we can focus our resources on the crime and then be able to address that. So it's not even about the conviction. We need the information to know that these crimes are occurring so that we can address areas, that these things may occur again. So that way we can prevent them and we're not still, going reactive. So it's not about the conviction at all. We need the police reports, we need the information. This will assist us in doing those things by having that relationship to come together. So going back to this, even if it was 20 years ago, we have crimes, and see how I can explain this so it makes sense. We have crimes where areas sometimes they might peak in areas and then fall off and then come back just based on the location of where things are convenient for those crimes to occur. So I'll give you I guess a vague one, but like truck stops, for example. Sometimes in truck stops, we'll have certain crimes that occur there, and then you can go 2 3 years. Truck stop doesn't have any issues, no nothing, and then it comes back up again because the location might be lucrative for crimes to occur, and then easy to be able to get victims there. And so even though this might have been 20 years, this is important or vital to us because not only will that give us information about what happened then, but it might connect to other crimes that happened during that time period. And if, let's say, it stopped and then peaked back up, it might connect us to a person that maybe was doing those things and then maybe got caught. So things again. So a lot of things that still help us and assist us, just because it's 20 years doesn't mean it's not relevant. So it is very important for us to have that and to go forward with that.
Okay, excellent answer. I'm going to go in
Yes.
Spanish. Rosa Villanueva dice, una persona que lo asaltaran hace como 20 años todavía puede aplicar para la visa U. Desde la perspectiva de la policía, de la certificación, él dice que sí. Sin embargo, en cada departamento es diferente. En Cincinnati, en la policía de Cincinnati, las políticas de retención de documentos solamente 5 años atrás del momento que tú estás haciendo esa requisición de ese reporte de policía. Sin embargo, si hubo un arresto, una detención del abusador, tú puedes ir a los tribunales, a las cortes, para ver esos documentos que se registraron en las cortes o en los tribunales. Desde la perspectiva, I'm gonna add this, desde la perspectiva legal, también puedes aplicar para la visa U, independientemente si pasó 20 años atrás. What I said, it is that from the legal perspective, there is any requirements that the crime had happened in X amount of years, so they can still apply their regulations. El oficial también dice que lo más importante es que vayan con información a la policía, porque puede haber cierta información que a lo mejor no vaya a dar un arresto en ese momento, pero va a dar información acerca de otros crímenes que también hayan pasado y que tienen ese mismo MO, que tienen las mismas características de los asaltantes, de los abusadores. Por ejemplo, él estaba mencionando crímenes que suceden en paradas de camiones, que muchas veces dejan de pasar y de repente otra vez empiezan a suceder. Entonces, hay patrones de conducta de los abusadores o delincuentes que su información que se está haciendo, que cuando se da ese reporte a la policía, les hace poder conectar información de un reporte a otros reportes, y eso es lo que ayuda.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah.
Perfect. So there's a lot of questions, and maybe we
Sure.
can talk about this, that the waiting times for the U visa. Oh, it's outside of our control.
Yes.
However, it can impact, Tony, it can impact how people will see the U visa, because they say, well, yes, I know that the U visa is available, but what is the point? It is taking so long.
Yeah.
So they get discouraged and they
Yes.
don't do anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I cannot imagine, having to wait and wait. And we talked about this earlier about courts and everything else like that. And well, we could differ in opinion, but I think that it needs to start, if you're talking about immigration reform, again, it's my opinion, it needs to start with the courts. It needs to start with adding more, services and things like that to be hearing cases. So then people are not idle waiting, the waiting times are forever. But again, from the boots on the ground, this helps our police department solve crimes. This helps our police department to, protect our community members from being victims. And it's important that, as much as it might be tedious throughout this whole process, again, being a victim, first of all, of a serious offense, again, I call it a crisis, because that's what it is in somebody's life when you deal with something like that. And then to hopefully know that, prayerfully, they understand that we're here to help them. We're not going to do anything to them, but assist them as much as we possibly can with them being a victim. And then know that, hey, here's this protection for you. I know it's hard, but this is something that hopefully brings us together, works in our favor to be able to make our city a safer place, and then make our community members feel confident in our city and what our services provide through this. I mean, that's the whole point of the U visa, is to assist our victims and know that they're not going to be retaliated on because they're immigrants, or they're outside of being normal, or what do you want to call viewed as different citizens. You know what I'm saying? No, we're taking care of all of our community members in the city of Cincinnati, because our goal is it to be safer, more efficient for everybody to be able to live, the quality of life to be better. All of these things are important for all of us because we all live here.
Perfect. What I'm going to add to that, it is from the legal perspective, I asked, what else are you going to do? Do you have any other relief or you can pursue at this point? So it makes sense to just get in line, because you don't know what is going to happen. And there is certain provisions that they will protect them for removal Okay, if
Mhm.
they are behaving in the country and not committing crimes,
Yes.
then they will be protected.
Mhm.
So,
The important thing is to know that stuff is happening in
mhm,
our victims' behalf. You know what I mean? Like the victim is not out there on their own struggling. And again, it definitely, being a victim will feel like that at times. Like nothing is happening for them, everything is being a struggle. But that's what this whole thing is that for them to know that this stuff is something to help them and to move forward through this process of, like I said, unfortunately being a victim, being in a moment of crisis in their life. It's a olive branch, it's a supporter, it's a
yeah.
maybe even a kind of a foundation for them to kind of get back up on their feet from what happened.
Yes. And also not proceeding, not reporting, not going forward. I think that is also a very selfish um, view, because reporting will be protecting somebody else as well.
That again, that's the relationships. Having a community. That's the biggest thing about this, is that we as police officers are intertwined with our community members, and they understand that if they're not safe, then our job is not good. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We're here to provide that safety, to stop crime, to make it a safer place, so people want to be here.
Hmm.
And when there's a disconnect like that, then we're not able to do our job to our fullest.
Le pregunté al oficial qué es lo que pensaba y si tenía algo que decir, no me acuerdo realmente la pregunta exacta, I don't remember the exact question, acerca de que las personas y las víctimas en este momento se están quejando mucho de los tiempos que se está tardando inmigración para dar una respuesta. Y sé que todos ustedes que tienen una visa U pendiente están muy ansiosos acerca de todo esto, y si cree que en el futuro vamos a tener personas que no reporten a la policía porque cuál es el punto si todo este proceso de la visa U se está tardando mucho. Él responde que el punto de estar reportando y dando la información a la policía no solamente tiene que ser la visa U, sino que tener en cuenta de que reportar a la policía nos hace una comunidad más segura. Y ese es un concepto muy extraño para nosotros, que es comunidad. That is a very different and foreign concept, that is community.
Mhm.
The ties that you do with your community, with your neighbors, that roots you in.
Absolutely.
Y como comunidad inmigrante nos cuesta trabajo enlazar de ser comunidad. Entonces yo le hice el comentario acerca que no reportar un crimen solamente porque la visa U está tardando mucho es algo muy egoísta de nuestra parte, porque no te estás dando cuenta que el reportarlo a la policía estás cuidando a alguien más o estás protegiendo a alguien más.
Mhm. Exactly.
So we know that it's taking a long time, but immigration also, it is providing new avenues. So since 2021, the immigration was silent as to providing work permits while
Yeah.
pending.
Yeah.
Now 2021 came and they announced that they were going to be reviewing the cases. It's a determination, a prima facie determination. If you file the initial evidence, that will give a grant a work authorization document. Granted, they will run a background check.
Yeah.
So then a lot of people are still waiting the work authorization documents, and they felt that there was going to be a tsunami of work authorization documents. Nobody really knows what is happening, but still, that doesn't change the fact that if you're a victim of a crime, the duty to yourself and the duty to your community is to report.
Yeah. Again, if crime is not checked in, people are not reporting it, you're not assisting your community members, your neighbors, your friends. And again, it's going to just create more victims as far as it's not being addressed. And I mean, it's part of our job. It's what we do. We're out here to make our city safer, to provide assistance, to our community members and whatever their crisis is. And more importantly, again, we all live here. We all have to support each other and have each other's back if we're going to have the quality of life here in our city that we all want.
Yeah, probably it comes the doubt of reporting the crime. It comes from cultural. It comes from our culture.
Oh, absolutely.
What is the point of reporting that? Even what I hear from my clients from the Hispanic community, it is that they will not do anything. I don't have the evidence. I don't know who it was. If it was a robbery in most of the cases, and also they're going to arrest me. Do you think that all of these reasonings are valid, or what do you have to add to that?
So, again, I'm gonna go back to TV because TV sells a lot of these ideas about what policing is and what policing isn't, and some of it are on aspects of real life, but it's not full real life. I mean, in my job, I've been here. It's gonna be 25 years next month. I have seen policing go from kind of like where we didn't have any video, any body cameras, any car cameras, cameras on the street and everything else, to having all of this technology advance our department and make us a completely better department in investigating crimes. Um, I mean, even some of the stuff that has happened in the past, we could go 6 months later and be able to find evidence to be able to tie that case and be able to make an arrest. Um, uh, just even being able to, like, we have in our city what's called shot spotter that literally can sense when gunfire is shot throughout our city, so we know where to go immediately. I mean, that didn't exist when I first came on.
Can you explain that one more time, because that is
Okay.
also a surprise for me.
The program is called Shot Spotter,
Uh-huh.
and anybody that shoots a gun inside the city limits and areas, it will alert us without anybody even having to call 911.
Like, how does that work?
Well, there's like sensors and things like that are placed throughout the city, where they'll receive the sound of gunfire, and they're pretty good. I mean, there's sometimes they might catch something that might sound like gunfire, but it's not. But for the most part,
They're
they will know
accurate.
exactly. Yes, and not only gunfire, but multiple guns. If like two guns are shooting, they will have two different sounds and be able to identify them as being two guns being shot. I mean, that technology didn't exist when I first came on,
Mm-hmm.
but that gets us to scenes like that so much faster now because we get alerted to it and then we respond, as opposed to waiting for a 911 call and things like that. So, I mean, why I'm saying this is that as much as people talk about whether the police can or cannot do it, we live in a world where we want everything done like right now, yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But solving crimes and investigating crimes and things like that are not that way. I mean, they even have, what is it? There's a TV show called The First 48, where like in 2 days they're trying to find answers and stuff for homicides, and even in 48 hours you can't get all the evidence that you need. But I said it the last time, we have excellent investigators. I mean, I am really, again, I'm one of them people that go to different police departments and see how they do stuff. Our investigators are very, very good, and they're well trained, and they work hard to solve these cases and really come up with all the evidence to not just solve it, make the arrest, but to get the conviction in court. So, as much as people may have doubts about what police departments do when it comes to investigations, it comes to solving crimes and things like that, they work it all the way to the end. And it's, I know I see it from the inside, but if I were to take some people and actually let people see the process of how our investigators work, everybody would be thoroughly impressed about how
Mm-hmm.
our police department handles those investigations.
That was a lot of information for me
I
to
know,
translate.
I'm sorry.
Le hice la pregunta al oficial acerca de qué es lo que él pensaba acerca de las razones por las cuales las personas no reportan los crímenes a la policía, que generalmente son, bueno, porque yo no sé quién fue, porque no tengo evidencia o porque finalmente no se va a hacer nada. Y de ahí él estaba explicando la diferente tecnología que ahora se tiene en los departamentos de policía y el nivel de seriedad que tienen los detectives dentro de los departamentos de policía. Y a él mencionó un programa que se llama, how was the name of the...
It's just called Shot Spotter.
Shot Spotter.
Uh-huh.
Es un programa que es realmente algo tecnológico que puede detectar dónde se disparó un arma dentro de los límites de la ciudad de Cincinnati.
Uh-huh.
Entonces, yo ni siquiera sabía eso. Lo que quiere decir es que si una arma se dispara, ellos son alertados para que puedan ir y responder a ese crimen o a la situación, porque obviamente no vas a estar disparando en la ciudad nada más así porque sí, ¿no? We have another question, which I think that is, 20 years ago, I was a victim of domestic violence. It's in English.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
And because I did not speak English at that time, I was not able to get help I needed because my attacker was an American citizen. So it was not a question. It was just a comment.
Yes.
And it is very sad because, this You see it every time.
I
I
do.
see it every time at the
Hmm.
office.
Hmm.
What I have to say about that, it is that maybe you can go to the police department, and I don't know if they will be open to file a police report. If you know who was it, I still will say go and file the police report, because that it will be doing justice for yourself.
Hmm.
The statute of limitations, I don't know it from wherever that crime happened. I don't know the facts to actually see if they will be domestic violence as misdemeanor or can level up to a felony.
Hmm.
But and that definitely changed the statute of limitations. But it doesn't really matter when I see this type of cases. Go and speak, because that is what you need.
Yeah, and it also offers support. Again, I couldn't do what I do because I'm only one person. I couldn't do what I do without all the other entities around me to be able to assist the victim, whether it be the victim's advocates,
Mhm.
the prosecutors. I mean, there's it's a team of people that can help our victims go through the stuff that they go through and get the assistance that they need. So I know the U visa is one aspect of it, but I mean, you can get victims assistance. You can get all of the other things that come along with that. I mean, even assistance with protection orders, because
Mhm.
maybe you might be dealing with this person still. There's a lot of things that go into that, and so it's important. Again, regardless of time.
Seek for help.
Yes.
Go to an attorney, because you know that there is some situations that domestic violence, which is domestic violence, but sometimes it's domestic violence and it's a slavery, domestic slavery. You
Sure.
can still file a T visa, and the T
Yes.
visa, there's some exceptions for the certification and police report.
Hmm.
So go with an attorney, try to look for answers. If and I look seek many opinions. I would just not go with one and stick with that one. I will go with many professionals to see the difference of opinions and advice. That's what I would do, and I will
Yes.
always recommend my clients, do not only seek my opinion, go to others,
Hmm.
professionals. But
Yeah.
we have another one
Sure.
here. It says, what to do when the police
The
doesn't want to,
minors. Yeah.
yeah, dealing with minor, the
So,
police report
so
is.
yes. So
I'm very proud of your Spanish.
I I can read it. I can listen to it. I can't speak as fast as you
Very
can.
proud.
I'm working on it. Um, so we're dealing with a few situations currently about juveniles. Juveniles get arrested. So I will tell you that there was a time period that we had a few juveniles that were doing some robberies in a certain area in our city. And if it wasn't for those victims coming forward, and we also have video and we also have witness testimony, we actually had to arrest. And it's unfortunate because I'm really a kid person. I love kids, and I don't.
Mm.
It really hurts me that kids commit these crimes and have to go through our legal system. But we were able to arrest them and stop them from doing because they just kept robbing people.
Mm.
You know, it's important to report these because the reporting helped us locate the area that they were doing it, when they were doing it. So we had actually a time frame because they were robbing people from like five
Mm.
o'clock in the afternoon till about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So we knew the time frame because of the reports and the people coming forward, and then we were able to identify them by some of the victims, and then put the video together based on those times. So again, a good, amazing team effort by investigators, officers on the scene, everything else like that to put it together. But yes, report them. We unfortunately will have to arrest them if they're committing these type of robberies or these type of crimes, you know. And then again, it still goes to court, things of that nature, and then even with the report, um, go make it.
But I
Then the
think that
process
she's
starts.
talking about when the crime happened against the victim. And
Right.
the crime happened against the victim, and the victim was a minor. So she's talking about that it cannot. Maybe she's in a different state, that they don't. The police department doesn't want to release the report
Oh,
because
okay.
the.
You're okay. My bad. I took it the wrong way. So even you can still get a copy of the report. So what happens? And I'll give you the example with me. If I get a U visa certification for a juvenile, the report is going to redact the juvenile's information because they're not going to share
The
juvenile's
name.
information, the name,
Mhm.
date of birth, anything identifying the juvenile specifically. So if there's a name, date of birth, social security number, all that will be redacted. Okay. But when I do my part, I'm able to confirm the information about the juvenile for the U cert without exposing the juvenile's information, so then I can then get it signed off and certified, if that's, where we're going with the question of being able to get a report. You can get a copy of the report, and even though it's redacted, law enforcement will be able to confirm that that is the connection with that victim and whatever that crime was. You don't necessarily have to do that because the reporting number and all the other pertinent information is on that report. So,
Yeah, yeah. And what I do when that happens in the certification, I will add that. The
Yes.
police report, it is redacted because it is a minor. The victim was a minor. However, the police department is certifying the information of the victim. I'm going to say in Spanish.
Yes.
La pregunta fue cuando la policía, porque estamos hablando de reportes de policía, cuando la policía no quiere proveer el reporte de policía porque la víctima fue un menor de edad. Entonces, el oficial estaba diciendo que sí, esto es cierto, y yo lo he visto también, que el reporte de policía, cuando se trata de una víctima que es menor de edad, entonces va a estar redactado, y que le ponen algo negro, está redactado el nombre, la fecha de nacimiento y todo lo que identifique a la víctima como menor de edad. Sin embargo, cuando registran la certificación, la petición de certificación, lo que pueden hacer los oficiales cuando lo están revisando es verificar la información de la víctima, a pesar de que en el reporte de policía está redactado, está simplemente puesto en negro.
So when I read that, I thought it was talking about the minors doing the crime, because that's part of a report too. So.
La primera fase donde él contestó es otra pregunta en donde los menores son los agresores. Y también va a estar redactado. Entonces, pero realmente ahí no veo tanto conflicto, porque a inmigración no le importa ver quién fue el agresor. So I'm saying that I don't see a lot of conflict because immigration doesn't really care who was the aggressors.
Right, but let's say you get the report and you have the suspects listed, they're still going to redact those names.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why I looked at it in that regard.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get the information. If they're suspects and they're victims, you're not going to get their information.
Yes, you are not going to get. But I would say the only situation where immigration will wanted to know if the suspect or abuser, the name and the relationship, it is if it's a family member. So that person cannot get the U visa through that application.
Yes, but yeah.
So it is, well, these discussions are extremely important, because you can see how one question will lead to so many other questions and information. So when the clients come to me and say, well, can I apply for a U visa? Will this qualify? I'm like, we have to sit down, and this is going to be very negligent to actually just answer to the question right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it does. It's like one question is a tree trunk, but you got all these leaves and branches that have to be answered to know where to go.
Do we have any question over there? No? Okay. So we have 10 minutes.
Yes.
So do you want to just chat briefly about domestic violence, but specifically how to punish, how to reprimand minors at home?
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly we're talking about different ages and things of that nature. Lot of it is going to be communication. I mean, and we say that all the time, educating our kids and talking to them and trying to understand and teach them right and wrong. There is a lot of questions about what you can do and what you can't do when it comes to educating your kids and then disciplining your kids. I think, again, not to tell each family exactly what to do with them, but, depending on the level of what you think you've got all kinds, from just verbally talking to them to grounding to, my mom, when I was little, she stand me in the corner, which is the worst for me because I always want to do was run and play. And you stood me in the corner, and that was horrible. I didn't want to do that. But
so tell me what they cannot do. Tell me the conduct that is a crime.
Sure. So here, what you're worried about is, assaults, disorderly conduct, where like kids throw rocks at cars sometimes, that's disorderly conduct, especially if it's where you can injure somebody. Even littering is against the law. And just the other day, there was a kid, I was on a traffic post, the kid threw a wrapper down. I said, hey, no, you're not gonna do that with me. He, my bad, picked it up, threw it away. And he was respectful and apologized. So that was really great. But I mean, you could tell that kid was educated in what to do right and what to do wrong. To me, it starts there. Before there's any punishment, our young kids need to know what is right and what is wrong. So then when they make that choice, it's clearly evident that they're wrong or right. But you can actually whoop your kid, you know what I'm saying? But not in a way that's going to injure them or harm them to where they have to go to the hospital or they have bruising and swelling and things of that nature. I don't, necessarily recommend, doing that, but that's a family choice that you have. Um, to me, when it gets to the point where, and I see it in policing, when you get to like that preteen to teenage age, that's when they start kind of making choices that might break the law, may not break the
Mm.
law. And what the misnomer is that these kids are not going to face real punishment. But things that happen to them, like, for example, a kid will want to get his driver's license at 16 years old. Well, if you're charged with certain crimes, you're not going to be able to get into your 18 or 21. And what kid doesn't want a driver's license? Almost every kid wants to get their driver's license. Work permits. If you want to have a job while you're in high school, you have to go to your school and ask for a work permit. Well, if you're being bad at school or if you're committing crimes, you're not going to be able to get a job. And so some of these things where these kids don't think about their opportunities, it's going to cost them those things. So as much as we're talking about maybe handling them and punishing them in that regard, educating them and what could happen to them if they choose to do these things so they don't cost themselves something in the future, again, is more important to understand right and wrong and choices to make. um, as parents, dealing with kids, it's always a fine line as far as, choices that you're going to make to be able to handle your kids. And every kid is different. You're not going to deal with one kid one way and that other kid is going to be the same way because they're different personalities, different temperaments, different, ways of reasoning. But the thing, again, I'll talk about this city, and I'm really in love with this city. There's a lot of different things and programs that you can utilize to be able to expose your child to knowledge to help them make good and better decisions. I mean, whether again, you can go to the recreation centers and they have counselors and they have people that can that actually are like team leaders for kids to educate them. Your schools, they have not just counselors, but they have social workers. um, Dater has excellent ESL teachers that actually work within immigrant and refugee communities and culturally helping them so they can understand and intertwine, the dance between here and
Mhm.
their former country. A lot of those things are important because if you come from West Africa, you have a lot of things culturally that are different choices than if you came from Central America.
Yeah.
And then even your values of family, where there's everybody still loves the family, but the values of how they deal with family and things like that may be different. It's important to, again,
Hmm.
to be able to educate and put people in paths to know how to make the choices. And when we're dealing with our immigrants and refugees, that's a lot where I come in because I go into schools and I talk to these kids and I educate them about the laws and I educate them why the laws, not just the laws, why are these laws in place? Because this is what's going to guide them in making their decisions. So then they don't risk their freedom, they don't risk their opportunities to be able to give, or obtain everything that this country is willing to give. I mean, like I said, as far as jobs and driver's license and work permits and all kinds of those things that are necessary to be successful here. But definitely, you want to be able to talk to your kid. You don't want to injure your kid to where they're physically hurt or
Hmm.
injured. Um, and definitely look at choices. I mean, if we're talking about from the parents' perspective on what works and what doesn't work.
And they don't have to be documented or show
No,
immigration status for them to access for to these resources
no, not at
in the
all.
community.
Not at all. I mean, the YWCA does a really good job of teaching like teenage relationships
Hmm.
and how to handle them and how to respect each other and how to understand going into them and coming out of them.
Hmm.
Which is things that our kids don't really, understand or deal with sometimes. I mean, and again, they go through a lot of our schools to
Mm.
educate them.
So this is a great question. Do you
Mhm.
have any volunteer programs in the police department for the summer where the high school students can help?
So we absolutely have. We actually have a number of them. One of them is
Mm.
a cadet program where they actually get paid
Oh
through the
wow.
summer to work for the city. and they get to work out. They get to learn about the police
How old they have
department.
to be?
16, I think, is for to get paid, but we also have a program where they can be 14 and they're not getting paid to be able to learn those things until they get 16 and they can get a job. And that's the Explorer program, and that goes year round, and it's through all of our schools as well. And they're excellent programs because it teaches you character, it teaches you discipline, it teaches you again experiences
Yeah.
with the police department. So then that way, if you need a police officer, it's not so dramatic to talk to one, because again, when you're dealing with police, it's always a moment of crisis, but if you're dealing with them without it being a crisis, it's so much easier when you have to have one in the future, because that we're human, we're here to help, we're here to do those things. And shoot, I think there's about at least 50 cadets in the program this summer. I think it's about 50 cadets.
Do you have any Hispanic?
I want to say there's might be 3 or 4.
That's good.
So yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
Again, that don't even matter about documentation. It's just getting them intertwined with us in the community, sharing our values, providing some discipline and opportunities. So,
I
but
don't
there's a
know.
number of them. We have City Camp, which deals with a little bit of younger kids. So you can go to our website and the city of Cincinnati, and go through the police department, and those things are available information wise to apply for.
En español. Le pregunté acerca de la información que podía dar rápidamente en los últimos minutos acerca de violencia doméstica ahorita que estamos en periodo de verano, de las vacaciones de verano, por las fricciones que tenemos en casa, porque los niños están en casa todo el tiempo. Y muchas veces no sabemos como comunidad inmigrante los recursos que tienen las ciudades donde vivimos, que puede ser centro comunitario o otros centros de la comunidad que ofrecen campamentos de verano, cursos de verano para los niños. Entonces él estaba mencionando que realmente la policía no se mete mucho en cómo estar educando a los niños en casa, pero obviamente sí está penado en estar dando algún tipo de golpe que deje marca a los niños, o sea, que los mandes al hospital y que los estés abusando físicamente. Eso realmente es un crimen y obviamente es una diferencia que existe en Latinoamérica a Estados Unidos. Y por eso justamente quería hablar de esto, que los padres que tenemos más a los hijos en casa ahora no nos vamos a estar desesperando hasta el punto de estar causando un daño físico a los niños, porque eso es violencia doméstica. Él también estaban preguntando acerca de programas con la policía para el verano, en donde podrían ofrecer programas de voluntariado para los estudiantes. Y se mencionó acerca de un programa que se llama Cadetes, en donde se les paga si tienen 16 años y están trabajando todo el año completo y también durante el verano, y pueden pueden enlistarse o inscribirse desde que tienen 14 años, pero no se les paga. Entonces, eso es fenomenal.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for that. When he's 14, I'm like, go there.
Right. I mean, again, it's experiences that you wouldn't normally have,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you opportunities. Like, I couldn't imagine. I wish I could have worked for the city at 16 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been so cool to be able to have those experiences, working with adults, learning. Like I said, and then they work you out, so you get physically fit. They teach you, how to take care of your body. I mean, all kinds of things that, I didn't have that opportunity when I was 16.
So I think that you also, because we have a lot of viewers that they are not from Cincinnati, but this is something that is replicated in other cities as well. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure. I don't know if I've ever looked for other cities to have it, but I'm sure they have it. I'm sure.
You can ask, and you can ask the requirement. Maybe your city doesn't have it, the neighboring city will have it, or a bigger city will have it.
Yeah.
So again, it is about being resourceful to try to solve the problem. No, it's not the problem in itself.
Yeah, and the Explorer program is a national program.
Explore program.
Yeah.
El programa que él está mencionando acerca de cadetes se llama Programa Explorador. No sé si va a estar en español en Google, pero estoy segura que sus hijos, que tienen 14 o 16 años, sabrán hablar inglés y les pueden ayudar a traducir la información que sale en Google. We have one. We reached the end of the program. We appreciate everybody to be here. Thank you very much for the great questions and participation.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat or send us messages there. We can respond to them, or we can add them to the next time we're here, so then we can inform people, because your question might be something that everybody needs to know. It's important.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.